Throughout the ages, there's been one great and terrible question that's baffled man. Can a video game about platforming monkeys have profound music? Fuck yes it can! The Donkey Kong Country video games were always adept at capturing a spirit of exploration. In the first game, you were guided from these lush jungles to dank caverns to harsh tundras by a superb soundtrack. A fusion of realistic ambience married with some thematically appropriate instrumentation. Tribal drum and bass rhythms were used for the tropics, while chilly piano riffs were reserved for the Arctic levels. It gave the whole adventure this sense of atmosphere and depth. As a child, the music immersed me in the sprawling locales of a fictional ape island, and added some real emotional weight to the experience. But what the soundtrack to the first game did well, the soundtrack to the second game did even better, and with a few noticeable changes. For one, a lot of the music has been infused with a genuine melancholy, and this works for the new setting. The cute cartoon characters are no longer exploring the familiar country of their birth, but the heartland of their enemies where everything is hostile towards them. They're very far from home, and the eerie synth work that pops up throughout most of the tracks reflects this. There's this airy, faraway tone to it that really evokes a feeling of homesickness. It's perhaps most notable in the fan-favourite song Sticker Brush Symphony. Now, the piece starts with two melodies stacked on top of one another. There's this steady pitter-patter that almost sounds like rain, and a soothing echo which provides a constant underscore of harmony. Then, a sweep of keyboard notes comes in and the main melody of the song begins to unfold. What follows is this really pretty call and response between two distinct voices, one with a loud, brassy tone and the other which stays further in the background. They sound like they're speaking to one another over a vast gulf, and after they've finished, this gives way to a pulsing sound that ascends with the player into the clouds. Aside from the immediate, evocative force of the music, there's also a real sense of craftsmanship on display from handsome composer David Wise. For musicians, it's very easy to write one good melody and then just repeat it in the same context over and over again, hoping that no one will notice its overuse. But in Sticker Brush Symphony, David reintroduces the first piano melody. As a more developed phrase with a different timbre when the section comes around again. And that's good songwriting 101. It's not random, there's a logic to it, but it's not predictable. It's what composer and author Michael Miller calls the basis of good melody, something that's familiar yet unexpected. This organic and atmospheric approach to songwriting is also evident in the song Mining Melancholy. Now, on the surface, it's a pretty simple composition. It only runs for 1 minute and 45 seconds before it loops over again, and it follows a structure that's pretty similar to most pop songs. However, there's a stunning amount of detail packed into this runtime, and since I kind of skimmed over Sticker Brush Symphony, we'll look at this song a bit more deeply. This song appears during the mineshaft levels, so appropriately it begins with a metallic beat that sounds like the synchronized activity of carts and pickaxes. The way David weaves the sounds of the settings into his music is pretty incredible, and it's something I'll discuss a bit later on. But for now, let's stick to this song. The introduction lasts for 5 seconds before it's embellished as the main rhythm of the song. Because this rhythm is so important to the composition, it rings out on its own for 10 whole seconds, so you're given a chance to get used to it. A bass line begins at the tail end of this phrase and leads into the main synth melody of the verse section. It continues on for a little bit until a second synth melody is layered on top of it and fleshes it out a bit more. It changes in tone and tempo after that, coming into the chorus of the song. The percussion is not so different that it comes as a shock, but there is a lot more space to it now, and with that, a wistful melody takes center stage. There was also a throbbing synth melody in the background that was similar to the one played in the verse. By continually introducing new motifs like this, motifs that are just similar enough to the previous ones without proving repetitive, David is able to make the song run along in a way that's flowing and cohesive. The different song sections never crash into one another. The verse repeats after the chorus in a slightly new context too. Do you hear that new melody? That extra layer at the beginning? It's basically a clue for the new section that's coming up, what might be called a bridge in a traditional pop song. It's something that grows naturally out of the verse too. The percussion has the same tempo, but it's sparser now, and the same background synth as well. A very natural progression, wouldn't you say? There's no jarring randomness to it, just a smooth journey towards the final chorus where the song climaxes. And as with Sticker Brush Symphony, it uses a similar melody played in a different voice. And it just so happens to be the same voice as the zinger enemies you find all over these levels, which helps make the music feel like an extension of the setting. It's an incredibly immersive technique that's topped off with an orchestra hit that closes the song with a note of victory and triumph. It's an impressive shift in mood, but what's more impressive is the way the songs are always guiding the listener through a variety of moods. In this composition alone, we go from a sense of exploration and mystery in the verse, to a chorus that waxes introspective, and a conclusion that radiates with strength and renewed resolve. And the songwriting mechanics I've mentioned allow David to pull off these shifts seamlessly. But with the music firmly established as brilliant, we should consider what it adds to the overall experience. How does it transform this humble video game into something more? Well, for one, it adds a vibrancy to the already beautiful backdrops. Animation is used to prevent these scenes from looking static, but the music builds this dynamic to even greater heights. The chirp of birds and the buzz of insects at the beginning of Bayou Boogie makes the swamps seem alive, and the way these sounds are interwoven with the melodies creates a poetic rendering of the setting. It's not just some swamp anymore, it's a swamp fraught with danger and discovery now. The sound of bubbling magma works in a similar way with the lava levels, but the drumbeat that pauses and jumps also suits the mechanics of these levels. You're always hopping from platform to platform in these levels to avoid a fiery doom, and the beat synchronizes perfectly with this movement. Lockjaw's Saga has percussion that makes it sound like you're breaking through deep sea barriers in the underwater levels. The Hive levels have a constant, fast-paced rhythm that goes well with the endless swarms you have to dodge past. It's a humble artistic vision, an immersive cartoon adventure, but the music adds so much to the experience that it can't help but feel a little special. It's no wonder so many people wax nostalgic over it. Perhaps it's because that more than any other 16-bit platformer, the Donkey Kong Country games are about exploration. They're about braving the dangers of a vast unknown world through a cutesy avatar so that it never feels too real or too scary for young kids. Now, I'm fully aware that this is a game about cartoon monkeys and not some deep meditation on human nature, but there's also something timeless about the music David Wise has written for it. A lot of people experience this music as a child, and even as an adult it still evokes that old feeling of wonder and uncertainty for the future. Ultimately, I think that's why the soundtrack works so well. It's deeply imaginative music that's able to conjure all sorts of images and feelings. And it fits wonderfully with the game's colourful childhood world. Thanks so much for watching this video, and if you enjoyed it, feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. Cheers, mates!